All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Can I get a motion, please, that the agenda for the April 7th, 2020 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Councillor Chouinard will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried.
Oh, did we?
Hey, you don't have the floor, sir.
Okay.
Can I get a motion, please, that council allow members of council that feel the need to self-isolate during the COVID-19 pandemic to participate in council and committee of the whole meetings via electronic communications in accordance with the parameters listed within the RFD below? Councillor Byron will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Chouinard.
Is Councillor
No.
Curry? Oh, she's not here?
She's there, but we will address that after
Okay.
you pass this.
Okay.
Councillor Chouinard, do you have anything you want to add?
That was the only
RFD?
question.
Councillor Sorensen.
Through the chair to administration, I'm just not clear. Are we amending bylaw or a policy here?
Go ahead, see what
Yeah, thank you. I'll comment and then ask for Kayla to just support that if there's any addition. That this is not either an amendment to policy or bylaw. Our current bylaw is silent on it, and so by resolution, this would empower council to do this. We are intending, as mentioned before, that there would be more robust policy piece brought forward, considering this for general use in the future. Anything to add to that, Kayla?
All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I guess to administration, when you said to be used in the future, I thought that we had sort of decided this was going to be used during this time of disaster only, not as a future consideration for other council meetings.
Go ahead, see what
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, this current motion is specifically for this situation.
Right.
Administration felt that they received general consensus from council that they would want to see parameters for this to be in place for general use in the future brought forward for consideration. That's not something that is of immediate concern,
No.
but it is something that we would intend to bring forward at a future date.
Councillor Bevin.
To the chair, administrator. So I like the idea we're doing this right now because I think it helps us out. But does this put us in kind of a bind where we have people who want to run for council? Like last time we had a person who only could be in town for 2 weeks in another town. What does that give them to say, well, you guys have that in place, you can do remote stuff? Is that going to come back and haunt us anyway at all, or is that going to be written something in there that it's going to be just strictly for
So
something like this?
just for council's awareness, that'll be a future discome when the policy comes back. This has to do with this particular case for COVID-19. So we can save that discussion for future, because definitely some concerns there. Councillor Chouinard.
Okay, where they have the chair at the meeting, did we determine if whatever happens, deputy mayor or mayor's not here, do we have something in place that said who would chair in case something like that happens?
Yeah, so through to council and administration, correct me if I'm wrong, council will then have to vote at that meeting on who would chair that meeting if both the mayor and the deputy mayor are unavailable. All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried, and we'd like to welcome Councillor Curry, who is the first to join us remotely via, I believe she's on, what's that? Zoom. There's so many apps out there. Oh, wow, look at that.
Hi. Hi. I'm here. Right? It's just me. It's really awkward.
Yeah. So Councillor Curry is deciding to not join us as she does work at our local healthcare facilities. So we'll continue on with the meeting. Can I get a motion, please? The minutes of the March 17th, 2020 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented. Councillor Bevin will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. I have to admit, this is a bit trippy. Oh, there is a delay. Your vote is recorded, Councillor Curry. Thank you. We have no public hearings, no delegations. Can I get a motion, please, that council give first reading to bylaw number 2244, which amends bylaw number 2106 by allowing for a temporary change to the taxation due date and the penalty run dates for the year 2020 due to the global pandemic. Councillor Wilkinson will make that motion. And we have our Director of Corporate Services, Sarah Bittner, with us. Sarah, do you have anything you need to add?
I don't think so. I think it's mostly in the mirror. We've spoken about it a few other times at different meetings, just to extend the tax date to September 30th and therefore extend out those penalty run dates as well. We had to do an amendment to the bylaw, which is what you have in front of you now, and it's a temporary amendment that will expire on December 31st.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Chouinard?
Just to comment, like I'm fully in support of this, extending it, but where we have the first penalty run, so if people are struggling, would it be fair, like, I mean, we don't want to beat this to death, but then they could have till the end of the year before they pay penalties? How does the previous one work now? When do you start paying penalties as of what date?
Ms. Bittner?
Through the chair. That's certainly something that council can consider. I think I mentioned in one of our other memos, the penalties, if not run this year, would affect our revenue for this year. If no penalties were run until January of next year, we would lose about $100,000 of revenue based on other years. It depends on how many taxes are paid on time.
All right, thank you. Councillor Byer?
Through the chair to administration, so I appreciate this being brought forward as we've discussed it at another meeting. I feel that 3 months hopefully will give people enough time to figure out their cash flow situation. How does that affect the town cash flow situation?
Through the chair to councillor Byer. It will affect it a little bit because obviously we get most of that in June. We do actually have a lot of tax payments that are on PAPs. And as far as I'm aware, we haven't had a lot of people trying to come off that yet because it still splits it nice and evenly over those 12 months. I think we're in a situation where we have some money in the bank. Our reserves are all cash funded in the bank. So as for cash flow, it should work out all right. And I'll obviously let council know if there's any, if I have any concerns about that later on.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? CEO Dercott?
Thank you, Mayor. If there's no other discussion, just a minor procedural note with our new mode of interaction with Councillor Curry. With the minor delay, we just designed it so that you would ask Councillor Curry specifically first to indicate her vote, and then the rest of council would follow up with their vote as part of that process. It's just a procedural.
I thought it was just for phone calls, not for video, but okay, we can do that.
I just think with the brief delay, it gets a little awkward is all. But.
Awesome. So I'll call the question. Councillor Curry, how do you vote? Are you in favor?
I am.
All right. All those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council give second reading to bylaw number 2244? Councillor Sorensen will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Curry, are you in favor?
Yes.
Rest of council, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that bylaw number 2244 be placed for third reading? Councillor Chouinard will make that motion. Councillor Curry, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
Rest of council, all those in favor? Motion carried. And can I get a motion, please, that council give third reading to bylaw number 2244? Councillor Byer will make that motion. Councillor Curry, are you in favor?
I am.
Council, all those in favor? Motion carried. All right, can I get a motion, please, that council direct administration to implement a 0.9 schedule, reducing the hours of work for all staff until the end of 2020. Councillor Bevan will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Wilkinson.
Okay, the way I read this, it's 0.9 reduce of hours of work. This is not a reduction in wage for administrators and hours of work for union.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Wilkinson. Yeah, so in this case, the financial savings are to be derived by people working less hours, not by changing their wage. So they would work 9 out of every 10 regular working days, and then that other day would be unpaid.
Administration as well. Okay, because at one time I'd offered that I would gladly take a 0.1 reduction because I assumed it was a reduction in your pay, not in your hours of work.
See what Erica?
Yeah, thank you. Apologize for any miscommunication there. It had always been intended to be presented as a reduction in hours worked.
Okay, I thought administration were working full. Okay,
Yeah, and it does apply equally to both union and non-union staff. That is the intention. And just to note there, also there's a consideration for council as to whether or not they would also want to consider or participate in that program. And that would be something I think would be worthy of an additional motion should council feel so inclined.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Barr?
Through the chair to council and administration. So I've been through, pay cuts before due to economic challenges in the oil field. And I have I like the way that this approach is done, that although the staff are getting paid less, they also have less hours of work to put in instead of just having that pay cut with the same hours expected to be put in. I know the situation I was in, the morale suffered a lot because of that, and I think that this approach has it's a little bit nicer that way, especially with everything going on right now. Having more time at home might be preferred for several people. So, thank you.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Chard and Councillor Bevan?
Just to clarify then, so the staff that are affected are working less, therefore it's a savings. And so it's union and non-union, does that mean management as well? So just so I'm clear, so the management, so virtually out of 10 days, you'd work 9, so it's like getting 10% off. So out of a 10-day work week, you work 9. Now, do we have management spread out to cover? Because we have management in different departments. How is this going to affect our day to work? I fully understand there'll be less work, less service, but we have to do something.
Go ahead, see what Erica.
Yeah, thank you. So a few comments on that is it depends a little bit on the area of work, as the schedules don't all line up for all parts of the organization. And so for a place like the town office or the fire hall administrative staff, the intent right now is that the facility would just be closed every 10th day basically, and both managers and non-union staff would be at work. And so there's not really a supervision issue created there. There are a few other areas where we obviously will have to be a little bit more flexible in how we apply it. The landfill and a few others where the schedules don't just line up specifically with that. And we're just working to produce a dynamic that we will feel will have the least impact on service delivery, and also still obviously be functional as a general program.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bevan and Councillor Curry.
Through the chair. Yeah, I see this here and it says financial implication result in reduction of about 540,000. And then below it says if council chooses to take the reduction pay of another 16,650. Like I'd be in favor for that. I mean, we're asking all our employees here, whether union or non-union, to help us out. And yet, we did give ourselves a little bit of a pay raise here last time in that. And I think, we have to lead by example too, in that we should also step up to the plate and, help it out. It may not be a huge sum, but every little thing we get to save, it will help us out. And this year, it could end 2 months. It could go right to the end of the year here. Who knows what's going to happen and how much more we're going to have to do to try to come up with another balance of money here and that. So I'd like to see council, as it says in here, to also fall in line with this.
All right, thank you, Councillor Curry.
Just to admin, what was the feedback? Sorry, through the chair to admin. What was the feedback from staff? Can I ask about this when it was brought forth?
Let's hear it.
Thank you through the chair to Councillor Curry. Obviously, this will be a general response, and I'm sure each individual staff have their unique feelings on it. I'll first just comment that we worked really, really closely with our union partners as we put this together and discussed this with them. Our union president participated in going around and presenting this to all staff and indicated the union support for the program. So we were very, very fortunate to have our labor partners viewing this as a positive program. Look, our staff are seeing the news and looking around town, and they see what's happening in other workplaces and to their friends and colleagues and families around town. And I think the overwhelming response was that this is much better than it possibly could have been, in terms of instead of having people without jobs or without employment, that a reduction in hours and ultimately in financial compensation was far favorable to the alternative. And so I think our staff are realistic and understanding of why this program is meaningful and important. And even though it may be tough, that it's a reasonable course of action.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sorensen.
Through the chair, I just want to take this opportunity to thank the staff, right, for the, this is an extreme measure, and they should be, we should show everyone in town should show their gratitude for this extreme measure. And following this motion, I would like to make a motion for council remuneration.
All right, thank you. Councillor Schnarr.
I was just going to make the motion, but I'm also in favor of that for us leading for the example. The question I had, so it's 500,000 if we carry this through till the end of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. I imagine with the savings, administration will be bringing forth a plan how we can pass the savings on to our taxpayer, would be a fair comment, because if we're going to do 500,000, we need to implement till the end of the year, because playing on the idea, I shouldn't say playing, but I'm working on the, we're coming into the unknown. It's going to end May, June, July. So I think if we make the plan full in favor of this, will remain in effect till 2020, and we can review it in October-ish to see where we're at. But I'm also in favor of let council lead by example. I'm in favor of
Thank you, Councillor Schnarr. Yes, we will be having a budget discussion next week at committee. So we'll be going through not only this impact, but several other plans that administration has been working on, which will be quite significant. And we'll, as a council, we'll be discussing various strategies. So any other questions, comments, or concerns? You have something you'd add, Councillor?
I just want to comment, we have to, because we've changed the motion.
No, we have not changed the motion.
We have changed the motion, we just accepted, so council, okay. Then I don't have a
I'm going to call the question. Councillor Curry, are you in favor?
Yes.
All right, council, all those in favor? Motion carried. And Councillor Sorensen, go ahead and make your motion.
I would like to make a motion that effective May 1st until the end of 2020, council remuneration equate to the lesser of current policy or 0.9 of the provincial average.
Okay, do you want to speak to that
I
motion?
would. As I've said before, council and the community owes a ton of gratitude to staff who have voluntarily reduced their hours to prepare us financially for some very tough times ahead. As a councillor, there's no opportunity for me to reduce my hours. My cell phone and email are on the website. I receive messages at all times of the day and any day of the week. I can't speak for others on council, but the last few weeks have been some of the most stressful of my term. I used to receive angry calls about potholes and snow plowing, but now I receive calls from sobbing residents that are losing their business, their life savings, and are scared for the life of their family members. That being said, I think we should reduce remuneration to 0.9 of the provincial average to match the extreme efforts volunteered by our staff.
Okay. Questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, I have a question. So how do we determine what the provincial average would be?
We have a, sorry,
Go ahead.
through the chair, we have a report on that.
So so your motion?
I believe we set before that our goal is the 50th percentile, so that's what I would suggest.
Administration, do you have any comments on that? Is the motion clear to you?
Yes, I think the motion, sorry, through to the chair, I do think the motion is clear. I don't have those numbers right in front of me. My understanding of that motion would be that if the provincial average was below this, that we would go down to that. and or to 0.9 of current compensation, whichever of those numbers was less.
Councillor Sorensen.
Let me repeat the motion.
Thank you.
That effective May 1st until the end of 2020, council remuneration equate to the lesser of current policy or 0.9 of the provincial average.
So if current policy is less, then that would remain. Okay. Councillor Chenard.
I like the motion, but I don't like the way it's worded because we went through this before and we're on the lower percentile. I would rather propose what we're getting right now, just a 10%. That's what we're asking them to do. Because when we start playing with numbers, I think we're setting the standard, say this is what councillors in Edson get. And I would be in favor of saying we're taking a 10% reduction of our present pay till the end of the year. Because we start working with the numbers, we already know we're below average. So in essence, we may not be giving ourselves anything. So I would rather make it straightforward, this emergency measure. As of May 1st, we all take a 10%, or I would like to see just that I make 10% of my present salary. That's more easy, straightforward language.
All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, CEO Derrick.
Mayor, if I may suggest here, with a request like this, it may be prudent with, obviously Councillor Sorensen making the motion for his consideration in particular, that this is an item that could be brought forward with some additional information at our committee meeting next week where council considers the budget. And that may allow for a little bit more detailed consideration if we can just add a few pieces of information to that. That's at the discretion of Councillor Sorensen for consideration.
Good, Councillor Sorensen.
I
see you, Councillor Curry.
Through the chair, I'm ready to vote on the motion today. From my calculations, the mayor's remuneration would not be changed, but council would be reduced slightly. I believe all of us understand, we've discussed this many times, that we're far below the provincial average, our goal for this council. The mayor is at extremely low compared to everyone in the province. So to reduce his pay even another 10% doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I worded it this way, and I'm ready to vote on it tonight.
All right, we have Councillor Curry and then Councillor Wilkinson.
I would not be comfortable voting on it tonight without more information. So before I could vote on the motion the way it is tonight, I would need to see the actual specific numbers around this, so I knew exactly what I was voting on.
All right, Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, I'm very comfortable taking the 10%, but I do want to mention at this time that you as mayor certainly should not be. You're not taking every 10th day off. You have a lot of pressure on you at this time and you're showing good leadership. And I don't think it would be fair at all that you had to take a reduction, because this is really a reduction in time and of course resulting in money, but you wouldn't be able to take either one of those.
Great, thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Chenard.
I feel the same way thing, but I will not vote in favor of this motion. I would rather wait and get more information. We still have time, but I'd like to see more figures. And I mean, I appreciate what you're saying in the room, but I can't support this motion, but I will support a motion once we get more information.
Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to administration, has there been any savings resulted in the pandemic with council traveling less and things being canceled within the legislative department budget?
Sure. Thank you through the chair to Councillor Byer. Yes, next week at the committee meeting, we will detail some organization-wide impacts of COVID-19. One of those has been a reduction generally in travel and expense and conference registrations, those types of things. This is obviously quite significant for council, considering attendance at the national conference of FCM, which carries with it some fairly significant travel costs. There is a proposed reduction to those portions of the budget coming forward.
All right. So I'm going to call the question unless you want to withdraw your motion. You don't want to withdraw your motion. So I'll speak to this before I call the question. I don't think I can support this motion. I think it's a little more complicated than it maybe needs to be for this particular issue. At the end of the day, moving to a 0.9 schedule for council won't really impact our overall town budget very significantly, as is indicated here, $16,000. We have a 20-some million dollar operational budget, so it really is small potatoes. So I don't want administration spending a whole bunch of time gathering more information. I think we have more pressing issues to deal with. So I will not be supporting your motion, Councillor Sorensen. But if there any other councillor wants to make a further motion after this, certainly we'll entertain that if this motion fails. So with that, I will call the question. Councillor Curry, are you in favor or are you opposed?
I am opposed.
Okay. To those in the room, all those in favor? Councillor Sorensen and Councillor Byer are in favor. All those opposed? Motion defeated. Anybody want to make a different motion? Councillor Chenard.
I'd like to make a motion that as of May 1st, all of council, including the mayor, we just take a straight 10% wage decrease until the end of 2020, effective May 1st.
All right. Go ahead, Councillor
Through
Wilkinson.
the chair, could we make an amendment to that excluding the mayor, please?
Councillor Chenard, do you want to change your motion?
If that'll make everyone happy, yes, I will change it.
Thank
council.
you. Thank you.
And I'll let the mayor speak to it.
Okay. I appreciate that, Councillor Wilkinson, but in all fairness, if council is going to be taking a decrease of 10%, so will I. So you can keep your motion.
I'll keep my motion
the same. Yeah, so I'll open the floor to comments, questions, or concerns. Councillor Curry.
If Councillor Chenard wants to keep his friendly amendment, can he not keep his friendly amendment? And that's our choice. Mayor?
Yes, I guess he can keep his friendly amendment,
I would
absolutely.
keep it.
So you're going to keep your amendment to exclude the mayor?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to council. So as administration mentioned in the previous discussion regarding reduction of hours to that 0.9, how can that impact council? And like I've taken reductions in pay before, and as I mentioned, morale suffered greatly within those organizations. How can that, as Councillor Sorensen mentioned, this has been a stressful time on council, and this has been one of my most stressful times on council the past month or so. It's not about potholes anymore. It's about people's livelihoods and their businesses, and how we can respond to that. I don't think the calls have decreased. I don't think the inquiries have decreased. Instead, there are more concerns, and it's more challenging to respond. Is there a way that we skip every 10th meeting as well, or how do we approach that?
Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, I think we have to perceive this really for we as council, 10% discount in our wages, as the oil patches are taking now, 15%. And I think this is our chance to finally step up and be the municipal leaders that we are supposed to be. We're supposed to be busy. We're supposed to be getting calls. And I'm proud of the fact that we are the government right now. And I'm proud of that.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? I concur with Councillor Byer that this is a very challenging time. We don't get to decrease our hours in responding to individuals and the concerns of our community. In fact, we have, I think, probably a pretty busy schedule over the next few weeks when we're talking about FCSS budget meetings, dealing with trying to keep apprised of all the information that's coming out. I think too, and I'm speaking to what Councillor Sorensen said is we are already lower than most other municipalities. However, people are struggling and stressed out all over our community right now. So this is a challenging time. And I certainly appreciate the amendment to the motion that Councillor Chenard and Councillor Wilkinson spoke about, and Councillor Curry. But if this motion passes with that, I will be voting against it because we're a team, and I don't feel comfortable keeping my pay while my colleagues are taking a decrease around the table. I don't believe this council needs to take a decrease, other than the fact of what Councillor Wilkinson said is just to show that we are part of the solution, even though, quite frankly, the numbers are not significant. It's not going to make a hill of beans or help really individuals on an individual basis, but it's just a token of us being in it with them. So on that note, Councillor Chenard.
I took back my friendly amendment. It's all of us. I want you to vote in favor.
All right. So any other further questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Curry.
I just wanted to make a comment. Knowing that you won't accept the friendly amendment and not doing it as a team, I won't be supporting this motion for the fact that I just don't think it's acceptable at this time that our mayor is taking a decrease when we are all fairly aware how much more he is doing, and anyone in the community is aware. You can see it on Facebook with all the videos and all that he is doing, and so I am not comfortable with accepting it if the mayor is not willing, if it means that the mayor will also take a pay cut, because I can't support our mayor not being paid his full wage right now, which is already substantially lower than the average mayor.
Well, this has been a fun debate. All right. Any other further comments, questions, or concerns?
So I just want to make sure that the motion is clear that all of council would reduce their wage by 10%.
That is correct.
Just wanted to clarify.
7 of us.
So question through to administration, what does that work on to per councillor per month? And what would that amount to for the mayor's salary?
Thank you, Your Worship. Unfortunately, I don't have those numbers right in front of me on a per councillor basis. I would suggest each of you may know that better than I would in terms of what you are paid per month, and then
You're about 350.
yeah, the 10% of that. I apologize. I just have the whole number there.
Okay. All right. I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion, and we'll go to Councillor Curry first. She gets to say yes, or are you opposed to the motion?
I am opposed.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed?
We have to be in favor.
So we have Councillors Wilkinson and Chouinard that have been in favor, Councillors Beyer, Bevan, and Sorensen, and Mayor Zahara opposed. So the motion is defeated. All right.
So we're going to review a committee of the whole then?
That was fun. Can I get a motion, please, that council suspend penalties on unpaid utility accounts until the bills due August 25th, 2020, and give utility customers until the end of 2020 to pay unpaid balances? Councillor Chouinard will make that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? We have Mr. Passy with us here this evening. Got it right tonight. Do you want to speak to this at all?
This is just stemming from provincial level. I'm giving deferrals to the electricity and gas utility customers. They wish that the municipalities would extend that to water and other utilities that we provide to residents. The rest is the memo, just to take on our part of it as well.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to administration, I appreciate you guys bringing this forward. I know we've already discussed it and have nodded our heads in favor of it. I feel that with people's cash flow right now and with government having a few programs that may help people out that are struggling right now, that hopefully by this time they'll be in a better position to pay some of these bills that are coming in right now.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? So I'll speak to this. I'm certainly in favor of the deferral. I am concerned that at the end of this deferral period, people are going to be in a world of hurt because they may not have the cash flow to pay those bills, but they will have until the end of 2020. I am of the opinion that we should, as a council, and we can discuss this further next week, we should be actually forgiving at least 1 month's utility bills for our residents. I feel very strongly about that because that will have real impacts on helping individuals in our community, not just deferring the bills, or some sort of credit, whether that's a $50 or $100 credit for a month or two, just to provide some additional assistance during these times. And I know that we do have some money in reserve that we could fund that. I think it's really important to note that today Westmoreland Coal laid off an additional 250 people, employees. There's going to be several contractors impacted by that as well. This is a very dire situation, not only for our community and our province. So I'm very proud of the work everybody around this table and administration has done. We'll talk more about that next week. But I think we really need to give some due consideration of some forgiveness or some sort of credit on utilities for residential customers and focus some of the tax relief on our non-residential sector. But I will be in support of this motion. So Councillor Chenard.
Okay, so this is for residential, we mentioned, and businesses?
Yes.
Because that's where I'm echoing what you're saying, and we will discuss this further, but I totally agree that we are going through some very tough economical times. So I believe at the end of the year, we may have an opportunity to discuss on each case. So I agree with, we need to do something, and I guess we're going to talk about that next Tuesday.
All right, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Curry, how would you like to vote? In favor or opposed?
In favor.
All right, all those in favor in the room? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Passy. Can I get a motion, please? The council accept the COVID-19 update report for information. And Councillor Bevan will make that motion. CEO Derricott, do you want to speak to this at all?
Yeah, I think Mr. Schramm, I would invite.
Come on, Mr. Schramm.
I'll just as Al joins us here at the table. Council is well aware that our emergency coordination center has been open now for several weeks. We've had several emergency management committee meetings as well where we've updated you. We felt it would be appropriate to just provide a general overview in this public meeting as well. And so Al has prepared what's before you. Mr. Schramm, anything to add to your written report?
Report really, again, briefly, the main things, the 3 key objectives that we've identified in the report. And again, that's monitoring the federal, provincial, local issues relating to it, evaluating the community impacts, and really monitor and evaluate our employees, staff, and the impacts. That was the main objectives that our groups are working on over the last 3 weeks since this COVID-19 pandemic has arrived. There are some other initiatives, and this group has been really active in that. So any questions relating to the report or initiatives that we're doing, we're welcome to answer.
All right, Councillor Wilkinson.
This is just a comment, and you know, I did mention it here in our meetings about the playground and the dog leash park and everything. And really on reflection, I think that you all convinced me you're doing the right thing in not shutting them down, because the responsibility can be on the parents as far as the playground goes to see that their hands are washed, etc. And it just gives people an outlet, because it's fine to just say stay home, period. But I don't think that that's good for people's mental health at all. And we're so fortunate here. We've got so much trail system, so much land. We can all get out without jeopardizing that distancing that we need to have. So I'm really pleased, and I'm really pleased with the citizens of Edson. I think they're following that really very well.
Thank you. Anything you need to add to that?
To the Chair, to Council, we really follow the lead of Alberta Health Services.
Yeah.
Their recommendations, we believe they are professionals in dealing with the pandemic, and we really want to follow their lead. So as things develop and change, and they are changing daily. We know that, and we really look to them as the experts. We follow their lead. That's our goal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Trim. Councillor Sharp?
Actually, Councillor Wilkinson have virtually summed up what I wanted to ask. So good job.
All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Just through to Mr. Schramm. So can you speak to whether you've noticed any issues? I know our peace officers have been out and about in our community, and have you had any feedback on whether or not people are following the directives? I am a little concerned on some of the commentary I'm seeing online from some residents that are quite frankly completely ignoring the rules of what's going on, and whether or not we need to reconsider a state of local emergency to deal with that.
Mayor, our peace officers have been out on evening patrol for last week and all this week. My feedback from them is it's very quiet out there. If people do have questions or concerns, please forward them on to us so we can address them and maybe do some investigative work out there to see what's happening. But the impacts that we're seeing is it is extremely quiet out there. We are not seeing businesses open late. We are not seeing masses of people around in the evenings. It's from what we're observing is everybody's complying really well.
Thank you. And if I may, I would just add to that in reference to the state of local emergency. Administratively, our position hasn't changed. We feel that we currently have all the ability we need to, even if people were not following those protocols, that the enforcement mechanisms have been granted to us by the province that would allow us to address them. And at this point, we're comfortable that we're in an acceptable position in that regard. As we've mentioned several times before, should that position change, it is only a few moments away from declaring a state of local emergency. Should we then decide that that would help us deal with any arising circumstances.
All right, Councillor Riley?
Through the chair, on our website, Ned, do we have a 24-hour complaint line number they can call? The reason I was asking is I got a call at 1:30 the other morning there about a house party going on, where there was probably about 20 kids in there. And 1:30 my phone goes off and that's saying, is there a complaint line to call? I give them the 24-hour complaint line for the RCP because I couldn't remember at that time in the morning. And I just went to bed. I couldn't remember the number that was there. One put up on our website that people, I've had more people ask me that than anybody else.
Yeah, through the chair, Councilor. A lot of those complaints, we're talking noise and all that should be directed to the RCMP. They are the agency that will deal with those. So after hours calls, forward them on to the RCMP. That's the right place for them to go to. But again, follow up with sending to the report problem that we have, or even calling protective services during working hours. We can start lodging, trying to document what's happening out there. It gives our ability to kind of monitor a little more closely.
I think, and I would just add to that two points is one, this is there is an email address that the province has put in place that we can, I think that is generally intended to be more focused on businesses that are open or that are not following the protocols. However, it is there as well. And I think everyone is intending this, but just to clarify, just to make sure that the call is not a 911 call, but direct to the after hours RCMP number. But that would be appropriate in those circumstances.
And that's what I had told them, that you do call 911, it's a 24-hour number for the RCMP. So I'm not sure if they did or not, but I know it came from residents around the area. So.
All right, Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, just another comment. I think on Facebook, most of those concerns are about grocery stores, etc. That's what I seem to see, that people are so annoyed. And I really think all of our grocery stores have really stepped up and tried to do the best they can in controlling the social distancing. And I think they're really to be commended for that, because really people have to start controlling themselves as well, I think, rather than this. And as a senior, I'm like happy. 7 to 8 in the morning, it's empty. And now even the dollar store has an hour for us, so I can hit to the dollar store if I need something.
All right, thank you for that update, Mr. Schramm. I'm just gonna, I don't know if everybody around the table caught the Premier's address earlier this evening. Did everybody catch it? So you're aware of the numbers that worst case scenario, we could see up to 32,000 deaths in the province of Alberta. The most probable is up to 3,100 deaths. So the next number of weeks are going to be very critical, and just want to, any public that is listening, I just want to say that keep up the efforts as members of council have indicated, I think we've been doing a fairly good job in our communities. So we just can't let off the gas over the next couple of weeks. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillor Curry, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
All those in the room, are you in favor?
Yeah.
Motion carried.
I'm gonna do it to see what I look like on the screen.
No sundry items, council committee reports. We're going back to March the 18th, and we'll start with Councillor Byer.
Okay, thank you. So on March 18th, I had an Edson Library Board meeting. We had our auditors come in and present a report to the board. We did have a few that phoned in at that time. And the board had numerous questions for our auditors, so we were able to get some clarification on things, as well as, much like council, how we were receiving our initial financial report that we were receiving didn't necessarily provide us with the value that we were looking for. We're also asking for that with our auditor, and our bookkeeper was there as well, so we could have some really good discussions on getting a better financial statements that provided value, as well as with our regular meeting following that, we dealt with the process of closing the library, since we don't have a library right now, and the board chair and the board has taken on that role to communicate with the staff and how we go about that. And our Yellowhead Regional Library Board has also been really good at communicating with us almost daily with different initiatives that people can do to access the library and through their library card, and you can get a library card online now, so you don't have to go in. There's no interaction with that, and then you would have immediate access to all the online resources as well. So if you haven't taken a look at that, I would suggest it. And then on March 24th and 31st, I attended the Emergency Management Advisory Committee meetings. That's it.
All right, Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you. March 24th, I had the committee of the whole meeting, and March 31st, I had the Emergency Management Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkinson.
I had two visits at the new construction Parkland Lodge, March 18th, April 1st, and then I've attended the emergency management meetings.
Just a question through to Councillor Wilkinson. So I understand that there's going to be delay in residents moving into the
There will
lodge.
be.
Okay.
It's still ongoing. You know,
Okay.
there's quite a few vehicles there. Most days I try to go around there and have a look, see. But inspectors won't come up. Like there are just holds up with the virus.
Okay.
And we're not ready to move right now anyway.
Okay. Perfect. Councillor Bevan.
Okay, I believe on the 20th, I had a Zoom meeting with Community Futures. And I can't tell you what went on because it kicked me out and I could not get back on for later in the meeting. So I have to leave that up to Councillor Curry to see what happened, and I tried. And when I got back on, everybody was wishing everybody well. So
How convenient.
that's right, yeah. And on the 31st, I also attended an emergency manager meeting, and that was it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Chenard.
All my meetings are canceled, but I was also a committee of the whole 24th and emergency management at 31st.
All right, Councillor Curry.
Hi. So I was at the committee of the whole on the 24th, and then, sorry, I'll go in order. Both March 20th and March 27th, Community Futures West Yellowhead met. Obviously, for a lot of our clients that have loans and small businesses, this is a very difficult time. So Community Futures has put in some policies into place to put what am I trying to say here? Sorry, guys. To defer payments and to defer interest payments. And they are working really hard with the businesses to make sure that they are on top of all that is being provided with the provincial government and the federal government for any relief for businesses. So they are really recommending any of our small businesses in the area to call them. And they are all still working, obviously, from home or in, social distancing. But really they're looking at how they can help the businesses with the loans that they have, and then any businesses that are really trying to access. One of the things that they've noticed is that a lot of updates are coming out, and a lot of businesses are just struggling to find out where to find the information. So they're working to make sure that they have access and know where to find that information and to share that. And I know that they've been working with our team also at the town of Edson to kind of get out that information and with the chamber. So I had that, and then I also attended the emergency management planning meeting on the 31st.
All right, thank you. Had the Cal meeting on the 24th, conference call with MLA Long on the 27th, emergency management on the 31st, and then just prior to this meeting, town hall with the Premier and Minister Madu. Interesting to note, the Premier did speak earlier today that there's going to be some major funding for economic and infrastructure stimulus coming in the province, which I understand will greatly impact positively on municipalities in order to create jobs. So we certainly look forward to that. And that is my report. We will move on to financial. We have no financial. And so questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting. Anybody watching online, if you do have a question about this meeting, feel free to email us at civiccenter@edson.ca. Ms. Sidork, has there been any emails prior to this meeting? No. Okay, thank you very much. We will make a motion to go in camera.
I think you should feel free to accept the motion, then I just have a comment.
Okay, go ahead. Councillor Byers is going to make that motion. Okay.
Thank you through the chair. Just to note that under the resolution passed in terms of remote participation, it does not allow, unfortunately, for Councillor Curry to participate in the closed session. Councillor Curry would obviously be able to listen to the end if there's any motions coming out of that, but not vote. We'll leave that to Councillor Curry's discretion. We can reach out to you to see if you want to come back online at that point, or if you are just comfortable watching on live stream, but that's at Councillor Curry's discretion there.
Okay, Councillor Curry, would you just want to watch online and or do you want to get reconnected at the end of the meeting?
I am okay to watch online. Thank you for asking.
All right. I would like to note that we only see the top of Councillor Curry. I fully expect she's wearing her pajamas right now, but
I didn't even bring the cat.
I know, I expected Matt to be walking across there, so.
Right.
Councillor Wilkinson?
Is there any way she could cast a vote on her discussion on our closed circuit through emailing Kayla?
Well, she wouldn't know what the discussion is.
Yeah.
She's totally off.
She's totally off for in cameras.
Okay.
We can't confirm security.
Okay,
And sometimes it's highly sensitive information.
all right, okay, sorry.
All right, thank you. Call the question. All those in favor? Councillor Curry, you in favor? Thank you. Motion carried. Bye.
Zoom away.
All right. We're now out of camera. Can I get a motion, please, regarding the medical center from Councillor Byer, please?
I'd like to make a motion as a response to restrictions due to COVID-19 pandemic that council reduce the rent on the Edson Medical Center by 50% for the next 3 months.
All right, thank you for that motion. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councillor Sorensen and then Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you. Through the chair, I will be voting in favor of this motion reluctantly. I believe rent deferral would have been a better approach. I receive calls on a daily basis from people who cannot pay their rent, who have zero revenues, and have mortgage payments. The province and Canada has decided that rent and mortgages are still due. So I believe deferral would have been a better approach here. However, in support of council, I will be voting in favor. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor Schnarr.
Through the chair, I'm also going to support this motion reluctantly because I do feel that a good turn is deserved, but it is for everybody else in town as well. So I'm very reluctant to support this.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Schnarr.
I'm in full support of this. We have to remember who we're doing this for. And it's not their fault they're in, but this is just proving that the town of Edson is in full support of our medical field. So I'm full support of this.
All right, Councillor Bevan.
I'm in full support of this too, because we can always go back and look at it after 3 months comes up, and then if we have to go ahead with it for another month or two, we have that right to be able to do it. So I do support the motion.
All right, Councillor Byer, do you want to speak since you made the motion?
Yes, please, thank you. I feel that 3 months is, given the current time and the way things are changing daily, that a lot could happen in 3 months. And that if it was necessary to continue it, if the pandemic is still in full force, then we have the option to continue it at that time and reevaluate the situation around it. So, and as a landlord, I am empathetic towards them and their situation, as well as the value that they provide to our community, I think is really important to consider here.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barron. I'll speak to this as well. I'm sorry for council because I said this in camera, but I think it's important for our community to be aware of, to understand the historical context of why we own the medical clinic. And we own the medical clinic in that building because at one point in our time in our community, we had no doctors and people could not get appointments. People could not access our ER. It was a very trying situation in our community. And actually, I think it was exactly 7 years ago, because I had something come up on my Facebook feed talking about how horrific it was to try to get an appointment in our community. And with the current circumstances going on in the province with COVID, as well as some of the challenges with the negotiations between the doctors and the province, I'm very concerned that we will lose our doctors. We have seen that in other communities such as Sundre and Rimbey and Medicine Hat and other communities. So I'm in support of this. I think it's important that we keep our medical professionals. I hope that our medical professionals recognize that council's stepping up to the plate here and our taxpayers are stepping up to the plate. The building is paid for. It is a revenue generator for us. Taxpayers didn't pay for that building. The doctors did through their rent over the last number of years. And I think we are doing what is appropriate to support our community as a whole at this time. As many people are aware as well, with the Yellowknife County support, we also own a house to recruit doctors, and we've been successful in attracting locums, and we actually are a teaching hospital. People actually want to come here now, and we need to keep that. A lot of hard work by a lot of people, previous councils, Mayor Pasichny, and others made that happen. And I think it's important that we continue that and review it in 3 months. I don't think we should be continuing this on in perpetuity, but that's my comments. So all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried. Can I get a motion, please, that on the draft home or on the home builders incentive program? Go ahead, Councillor Sorensen.
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve the draft home builders incentive program as amended in camera.
All right, any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Can I get a motion for adjournment? Councillor Chenard, all those in favor? Motion carried.